At some point, an adult human with a bank account, a dental history, and opinions about thermostat settings has stood in front of a printer and said, "Please, Harold, not today." The printer is not Harold. The printer does not know it is Tuesday. It is not choosing violence. It is a plastic box with rollers, ink, and a tiny display that somehow manages to radiate contempt. And yet we name it. We name cars, boats, laptops, Roombas, guitars, sourdough starters, houseplants, stuffed animals, and the one appliance that only works if you insult it first. A car becomes Betsy. A vacuum becomes Greg. A laptop becomes the old man. A boat receives a ceremony, a painted name, and sometimes more emotional commitment than a cousin. So why do humans keep naming things that are not alive? The simple answer is that we are sentimental. The stranger answer is that our brains are built to find minds in the world, because for most of human history, missing a mind was more dangerous than inventing one. If a bush moved on the savannah, it was safer to wonder if something was hiding in it than to calmly conclude that the shrub was exploring self-expression. A false alarm wastes a little energy. A missed predator, rival, or angry animal can end the experiment. So the human brain became very good at asking one question very quickly. Did that happen by accident, or did something do it? That question is agency detection. Agency means that something has goals, intentions, or the ability to act. Humans are not the only animals that detect agency, but we are spectacularly enthusiastic about it. We see faces in outlets. We hear accusation in a notification sound. We think the elevator is ignoring us because we pressed the button twice and it still had the nerve to be elsewhere. This is not stupidity. It is a useful shortcut being applied to modern objects that were not part of the original design brief. The brain is not really optimized for laser printers, robot vacuums, and cars with headlights that look disappointed. It is optimized for animals, babies, allies, enemies, and weather that might ruin your day. When something moves on its own, resists us, helps us, or behaves unpredictably, the social machinery wakes up. It starts making guesses. That is why a Roomba is not just a disk that maps your kitchen badly. It leaves its dock. It bumps into chair legs. It gets trapped under furniture in a way that feels less like navigation and more like personal tragedy. It appears to want things. It seems confused. It returns home to charge, like a tiny, exhausted employee. Naming it feels almost polite. And once something has a name, it becomes harder to treat it as a mere object. The name gives your brain a handle. Not just vacuum, but Dolores. Dolores is trying her best. Dolores is stuck under the couch again, because Dolores makes choices. This is one of the oddest features of naming. A name does not only label something, it can change the relationship. A car called My Car is equipment. A car called Ruby is a partner in traffic, a witness to bad singing, and the only being that knows how you sound when you rehearse an argument alone. This is not because people truly believe their hatchback has an inner emotional life. Usually, they know perfectly well that the car is not alive. Human beings can hold both ideas at once. It is a machine. Also, she does not like cold mornings. This is called being normal, apparently. A famous psychology experiment from the 1940s shows how little the brain needs before it starts telling social stories. People watched simple shapes moving around a screen, triangles and a circle near a box. Many viewers did not describe geometry. They described chasing, hiding, fighting, bullying, helping, escaping. The shapes had no faces, no voices, and no tiny hats. Still, the motion was enough for people to see intention. That experiment is useful because it strips the trick down to almost nothing. Give humans movement with timing and direction, and we start writing motives into it. A triangle becomes aggressive, a circle becomes timid, a square becomes a room. Nobody asked the circle how it felt. If you enjoy reminders that the modern mind is basically an ancient survival tool trying to understand office equipment, subscribe to Oddly Human. The same process happens with objects we use every day. A computer freezes right before a deadline, and it feels malicious because timing is how we recognize social meaning. A printer jams only when the document matters, so we describe it like a small bureaucrat with a personal grudge. A car starts after 3 tries, and we pat the dashboard. Not because the dashboard has nerves, but because gratitude is one of the social reflexes we have ready. Humans are social animals before we are technical animals. Long before instruction manuals, we survived by reading other beings. Who is angry? Who is sick? Who is trustworthy? Who is about to steal the better piece of meat and pretend they found it later? Our brains became prediction engines for behavior, especially social behavior. So when a machine is complicated or unpredictable, treating it as slightly person-like can make it feel easier to understand. Researchers have found that people are more likely to anthropomorphize things when those things are unpredictable or when people feel a stronger need to understand and control them. In plain language, when the machine acts weird, we give it a personality. This is not always accurate, but it is emotionally efficient. If your laptop crashes randomly, saying it is old and dramatic gives you a story. The story may be technically useless, but it reduces the feeling of chaos. There is comfort in imagining that the universe has motives, motives, even petty ones. This is where naming becomes a tiny act of control. The unnamed object is a problem. The named object is a character. Characters can be negotiated with. They can be blamed. They can be forgiven. If your car is making a strange noise, saying, "Come on, buddy," does not fix the engine, but it does make you feel less alone in the emergency. That last part matters. Anthropomorphism is not only about fear and prediction, it is also about connection. Humans are deeply motivated to bond, and we do not turn that off just because the available companion is a stuffed bear or a floor-cleaning robot. Children understand this openly. A stuffed animal is not alive in the same way a dog is alive, but try telling a sleepy child that Mr. Waffles is just fabric and stuffing. The child is not making a biology error. The bear is a comfort object. It holds memory, routine, safety, and a little portable relationship. Adults do the same thing with more expensive objects and fewer bedtime rituals. We keep old cars too long because they carried us through a chapter of life. We hesitate before throwing out a laptop that contains years of work, even after it has become a heated rectangle of resentment. We name a boat because the boat is not just fiberglass and metal. It is the thing between you and the water, which is traditionally where humans prefer not to be unsupported. Boats are especially revealing. Ships have been named for a very long time, partly for identification, partly for tradition, pride, luck, and belonging. A ship is a tool, but it is also a little world. Crews live on it, depend on it, fear losing it, and speak of it as if it has a character. In that context, a name is not cute decoration. It turns an object into a social center. This is common in human groups. We name things that carry identity. Houses, weapons, instruments, farms, spacecraft, sports stadiums, even group chats that should have died years ago. The name says, "This thing matters to us." It has a place in the story. There is also a memory advantage. Named things are easier to talk about, easier to remember, and easier to share. If you say the vacuum is broken, that is a household update. If you say Greg has trapped himself in the bathroom again, that is a family event. The comedy comes from the mismatch. Our ancient social brain is doing serious work, and the target is a confused cylinder eating a sock. But the underlying system is not foolish. It is the same system that lets us understand people quickly, cooperate in groups, care for children, read animals, and guess what another person might do next. The problem is that the system is generous. It would rather overdetect a mind than underdetect one. So it sees a car front with headlights and a grille, and suddenly the sedan looks smug. It hears a computer fan strain and senses exhaustion. It watches a loading circle spin for too long and starts to suspect betrayal. Modern technology makes this even easier because many objects now behave in ways that feel social. They respond to voices. They make choices from our perspective. They remember preferences. They move without being pushed. A thermostat learns. A phone suggests. A car warns. A robot vacuum explores. None of this requires consciousness, but it creates the shape of a relationship. And humans are extremely responsive to relationship-shaped things. That does not mean anthropomorphism is always harmless. If we think a machine understands more than it does, we may trust it too much. If we treat a system as caring, wise, or fair just because it speaks smoothly, we can forget that it is still designed, limited, and sometimes wrong. Naming can warm an object, but it can also blur the line between companionship and machinery. Still, naming lifeless things is not just confusion. It is a small human adaptation. It helps us predict, bond, remember, cope, and turn the indifferent objects around us into a more navigable world. A named car can feel dependable. A named stuffed animal can feel protective. A named printer can be held morally accountable, which is important because someone has to answer for what happened to page 7. Maybe the real surprise is not that humans name objects. It is that we live surrounded by powerful, complicated things and still use one of our oldest tools to deal with them. We make a relationship. We take the machine, the vessel, the toy, the device, the stubborn little plastic servant under the couch, and we pull it into the human circle. Not fully, not rationally, just enough. Because to be human is to look at a silent object, notice that it has been with us through trouble, inconvenience, travel, loneliness, and crumbs, and think, perhaps you are someone. Then, with complete seriousness, we name it Greg.